Welcome to the Spooky Scary Show. We are two friends in two different states who discuss all things spooky, scary, and just downright strange. We read news stories every week. If you would like to suggest a topic or submit a paranormal story, email us at spookyscaryshow@gmail.com and follow us on Instagram and Facebook for spooky facts and updates.
Hello, ghosties and Pinky.
Well, hello. How are you?
How are ya?
How are you?
How are you?
But how are you?
No, you shut up.
No, you hang up first.
No, Oh, actually, my mom has to use the phone, so I gotta go.
My mom's gotta use the internet. I gotta get off the phone. Stupid. If we have anybody under 20 listening, they're not gonna get that reference.
Oh my god. Okay, children, so back in my day, when you wanted to use the phone, you couldn't be on the internet, and the internet would scream at you. What the fuck are you doing? You know, the usual.
We've come so far.
I know. Heavy sigh. Therapist Pinky?
I think about it a lot. We used to sit in my room and watch YouTube videos a long time ago, and we would have to plug my computer into the HDMI and plug it into the TV, and it would have to reach, It's because we wanted to show each other videos. But now I sit on my couch and people come over with their phones and they can cast to the TV. I just think it's the most amazing thing in the whole entire world. I love this. This is what I've wanted my entire life.
Yeah, you've always been such a more techie type of person, just more tech inclined. I'm no, I'm pretty sure my phone could do more than what I use it for, but I'm just basics. I'm an old lady. I'm internet and apps and that's it.
Yeah. I love my phone too. I rocked the Galaxy S3 for 6 years and I just upgraded to the S9 Plus and it's amazing.
Oh, you have the Plus? I just have the S9. That's cool.
Yeah.
I love Galaxies. I've had, LG phones, and all the Apple people stopped listening to us by now, but I've had, Nightmare LG G4s and all that kind of crap. Ugh. So I went back to Galaxies, and I was I missed you so much.
Yeah, I haven't had one since, forever, and it's actually, super easy to use, and pretty similar to even, the S3. And J-Rock's always had, Notes. He had the Note 4 for a while, and then we got him the Note 9.
Not familiar with the Notes.
They're just a bigger battery type, Galaxy.
Ah.
With a pen. They have a pen. That's their whole thing.
Oh, yeah. I remember that. I'm oh my gosh, you could play games with a pen. That's so cool.
The pen in the Note 9 has a little controller, and you can use it to take pictures, like a remote.
That's sick.
It is.
I like that.
He lost his pen, though, so a lot of good that does.
I would, too. Alrighty, ghosties. Well, I'll just kind of give you a little life update for those listeners, that one listener that we probably have. I think I'm just gonna end up staying in Arizona, because I know me and Pinky were previously talking about, getting my booty up there, but it kind of turned out to be a little bit more stressful than just kind of staying here, so yeah, my new single butt is just looking for a little studio or a little duplex closer to my work, and I'll just have my little dog and my little cat, and that'll be it. Which, if you know me, I hate to be alone, so it's gonna be...
What are you gonna do?
I don't know, but I feel it's good.
It is good. I think it's good for you to, learn to be alone and deal with things alone.
Yeah, because Pinky knows I always jump from... I'm a monogamous type, so it's relationship for years and then another relationship for years, so now I'm honestly just gonna be dude, I don't know who I am, I don't know what I like, and I need to just push myself just to be alone and just find
strong,
comfort.
Independent woman.
Who don't need no man. But low-key, I do. Just kidding.
No.
Go away. Because, I'm just like one big thirst trap, so please don't fight over me.
Oh, Lord.
Lord have mercy. Anywho, so I'll be happy to kind of give you little life updates and how that's going and everything. So if you ghosties have any tips of, being alone, feel free to share them.
Hashtag alone gang.
Hashtag alone gang.
I have to go to my boyfriend's mother's birthday party today. So that should be... I have beer, so it'll be fine.
Beer in your phone for entertainment, if you get service.
Yeah. His brother and sister are coming over too, and it'll be fun. I'm gonna try to talk him into playing Jackbox games.
Yes, I love Jackbox.
Me too. I wish we could play.
I know. Pinky's internet sucks, guys. And Jackbox, for those who don't know, it's like a trivia game that you watch on the TV and then you submit answers on your phone, and it's really fun to do when you get drunk.
So fun.
Alrighty. So, speaking of scary things, not really the transition I was looking for, but what is our topic for this week, Pinky?
Our topic this week is Reddit ghost stories.
Ooh, spooky ghost stories.
I love it.
I'm so ready. So what is your story?
My story from Reddit was posted by Pippinacious. I think Pippinacious. Yeah. It was posted 2 years ago on a forum or a subreddit called No Sleep.
Ooh, that's a good one. I thought about looking at that one, but I just stuck to the regular Reddit/ghost stories.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever gone on that one.
Ooh.
This one's called Fran and Jock. I was the last in a long line of grandkids on both sides of the family. No one has ever said much, but I'm pretty sure I was an oops baby, the result of one too many glasses of wine and a couple over 40 who thought unplanned pregnancies were for teens. Oops. By the time I came along, both of my grandmothers had already passed away, and my grandfathers were elderly and lived in different states. Trying to coordinate travel plans for a family of 5, including an infant, was difficult on a budget, and neither of my grandpas were up to frequent trips. So visits were rare and spaced out over long periods. Still, both of my parents wanted me to have relationships with them, so we'd trade phone calls so they could hear my nonsensical baby babble. They'd write me letters for Mom and Dad to read to me, and they'd get crayon scribbles in return.
No.
When I was 3, they both started to experience declines in health. First, my maternal grandpa and then my paternal one. Fearing the worst, Mom purchased a pair of teddy bears, the kind that had recorders in them so you could record a message that would play when the bear was hugged.
My heart.
I know. So sweet. It made sure to get a message saved from both of them.
Oh
I told
God.
you were gonna like it.
Oh, Grandpa. Grandparents just get me every time. I'm like such a baby when it comes to my grandpa who passed away, so I'm gonna cry.
Don't cry. I'm sorry. My mom's father died when I was 4. A few days after his funeral, I was given a white teddy bear with bright blue eyes that twinkled from beneath a plaid flat cap and a green sweater. When I gave it a squeeze, I heard my grandpa's slightly muffled voice from its stomach. I love you, Sadie.
Oh, my heart. Wholesome.
2 years later, after Dad's father passed, I got the other one. It was a slate gray color, and the stitching on his face gave him a rather serious expression for a stuffed animal. A pair of red suspenders held up his tan trousers. I fell asleep hugging it, and my dad told me some years later, with tears in his eyes, that randomly throughout the night, he kept hearing Grandpa's voice coming from my room. I love you, Sadie.
Oh my God. I love this so much.
I named my white bear Fran and my gray bear Jock, and put them on a shelf above my bed, where they sat throughout my childhood. Honestly, I didn't give them much thought. They had become fixtures of my room, the same way the lamp and dresser were. Every now and again, I'd come home from school to find one of my parents standing beside my bed, looking up at the bears or giving them a little squeeze. Even as time passed, they still recited their single phrase without fail. Aside from those instances, though, Fran and Jock were little more than dust collectors from my childhood. When I went away to college, the two didn't make the cut and were left behind while I made my way out into the world for the first time. I think my parents were a little disappointed that I wasn't more sentimental over the teddies, but any memories I had of my grandparents were hazy at best, and I didn't have the same emotional connection as they did. When my mom asked about whether I would like them when I moved into my first apartment, I told her no, that they were probably better off with her. Okay, she said. Well, they'll be here if you change your mind. I was pretty confident I wouldn't. The next time I went back to my parents' place was to house sit while Dad took Mom on their long-awaited vacation out west. He'd been promising her they'd go for over 30 years, and they were both buzzing with excitement. In typical Mom fashion, however, she was also very nervous. You remember where all the financial documents are in case anything happens to us, right? She asked from the back seat at least 6 times on the drive to the airport. Yes, in the white bin under your bed. And the wills? Fireproof lockbox in the back of your closet. And I think she got it, hun, Dad said, reaching back to give her knee a squeeze. Mom harumphed and sat back. Just call if you need anything. I'll be fine. Don't worry. You're only going for a week. A lot can happen in a week, she said. I grinned at her in the rearview mirror, unconcerned, and she made a face at me, but she seemed to relax. After I dropped them off, I drove back to their place and started to make myself at home. I tossed my suitcase on my bed and went to the kitchen to make some dinner and catch up on one of my shows. It had been a while since I had a true, completely free week all to myself, and I planned to take full advantage of it. After I ate, I kicked up my feet, stretched out, and commenced lazy lump mode.
Same.
Same. That's a really good description of my life.
Same! All the time. Even at work. I'm like, I bring my blanket to work and I have like a million pillows. I'm like, ugh, this is it.
I managed to get almost 3 episodes in before I started to nod off. I checked the clock over the TV and sighed. It was only just after 11. Was I really turning into an old, early-to-bed woman already? The horror. I rolled off the couch and shut off the TV and all the lights, plunging the house into a deep darkness. Even in the inky black, I didn't feel a twinge of nervousness. I'd grown up in the house, I knew it like the back of my hand, and all of its creaks and groans were almost comforting. I made my way to my room and flipped on the light. It had been at least 5 years since I lived here, but my parents hadn't done much to change my room except store a few bits and bobs in the closet. They said it was so I'd know I'd always have a place with them. I thought it was because changing it would make the fact that I was out for good more real. Whatever the reason, I appreciated the familiarity. As I started to unpack my bag, my eye was drawn to the shelf over my bed. Fran and Jock, ever vigilant, were sitting in the same spots they'd occupied for most of my life. I don't know why, but I couldn't help but smile and reach out to them. I took Fran down first, giving his Hap a little tweak before squeezing him around his stomach. "I love you, Sadie," Grandpa said. After putting Fran back, I did the same to Jock, who stared up at me with his usual sternness, even after I plucked one red suspender. "I love you, Sadie," Grandpop said. It was the first time I'd listened to them in a while. Even if they didn't resonate as deeply with me as they did my parents, I was glad to find their recording still worked. A quick trip to the bathroom and a change into my PJs. Later, I was in bed, falling asleep. I can't say exactly what woke me. A nightmare, I figured, given that my heart was beating quite quickly, but I couldn't remember any details. I took a deep breath and rolled over, already falling half asleep again, and found myself face to face with a dark figure on the pillow beside me. I yelped and sat up, grabbing my phone, my nearest light source, and shined it towards my bed. Fran was lying on his side beside me. I let out a small chuckle and gave myself a little shake to dismiss the lingering fright that he'd caused, and picked him up. "Did you fall off the shelf?" I asked him quietly. I must have put him back too close to the edge earlier, and gravity had done its duty. I gave Fran a gentle squeeze. Get out.
Ah! Ooh, I just got goosebumps.
I stared down at the bear and blinked once, very slowly. I must be more sleepy than I realized, I thought. I was hearing things. To prove myself that it had been just my imagination, I squeezed him again. Get out. It was still Grandpa's voice, but instead of the soft warmth that it always had, it sounded cold, almost menacing. I threw Fran across the room where he hit the wall. From over my head, I heard Grandpop's more gravely voice. Get out.
Oh, I hate this. Stop it!
I whipped around and looked up at Jock. He was sitting in the same place as always, but now he was turned towards the door instead of facing forwards. Had I put him down like that? I couldn't remember. Get out! Grandpa's voice came from Fran again, louder this time. Get out! Grandpop echoed from Jock. The two went back and forth, their voices getting louder and louder until I slapped my hand over my ears and leapt from my bed. I wanted to scream, but my voice was stuck behind my fear-tangled tongue. I stumbled across my dark room, chased by my long-dead grandfather's voices. I know you're down there, Jock shouted with Grandpa's voice. I froze. Down there? Down under the shelf? I glanced over my shoulder at the gray bear staring silently down from over my bed. I had to get out of my room. I had to get out of the house. I yanked open the door. I see you, Fran said in Grandpa's voice. I was halfway out into the hall, tears streaming down my face. I didn't know what was happening. Was I going crazy? Was I dreaming? All I knew was that my two childhood toys were screaming threats at me, and I had to get away from them. I turned towards the stairs. You take one more step, I'll make sure it's your last, Jock bellowed. Get out, Fran roared.
What? I'm so confused!
From downstairs, a step creaked. Someone else was in the house. They weren't yelling at me at all. I realized with a very strange mix of confusing relief and a newly formed horror, they were yelling at an intruder who was making their way up the stairs towards me. Get out! My grandfathers howled together. Footsteps clambered across the wood floor downstairs. Something fell over in the living room with a loud crash, and again in the kitchen, before the back door slammed against the counter as it was thrown open and a car engine rumbled to life. Somehow I regained my wits enough to run to my parents' room and look out the window to the driveway below. An SUV was peeling backwards out into the street. It slammed into the neighbor's mailbox, righted itself, and then screeched off into the night. A heavy quiet had fallen over the house again. After waiting a few long, tense moments, I crept back across the hall and peeked into my room. Fran and Jock were where I'd left them, both completely silent. When they stayed that way, I hesitantly approached Fran, who was lying on his side with his little flat cat beside him. I picked him up with trembling fingers, squeezed his stomach. I love you, Sadie, Grandpa said warmly. I put his cat back on his head and gently put him back on the shelf beside Jock and backed out of the room, watching them the whole time with wide eyes. As I rounded the corner, heading downstairs to the phone, I heard Grandpa's voice trailing after me. I love you, Sadie. The police arrived a bit later, following my frantic call to 911. I filed a report, leaving out the bit about my talking bears, and allowed them to collect whatever evidence they could. Every so often, I found myself glancing at the stairs, almost like I was expecting a repeat of whatever had just happened. It never came, and the cops wrapped it up, leaving me alone again. When I called my parents to tell them about the break-in, they immediately wanted to rush home, but I assured them there was no need. Really? I said, I don't think I have anything to worry about. We could be on the next plane, Mom insisted. No, I'm okay. Whoever that guy was, I'm pretty sure he won't be back. It took a few more go-arounds, but eventually I convinced them that I was safe. And I felt it, too, for the most part. After the initial shock had worn off and I'd had time to process what happened, I really was okay. I couldn't explain it. I couldn't tell anyone what had happened without sounding crazy, but I knew it had been real, and I knew as long as I had Fran and Jock sitting on the shelf above my bed, I could sleep easy. A few days later, the cops did find the guy who broke in. He was a coworker of my dad's who'd overheard he'd be out of town. He thought the house would be empty and easy pickings. When he tried to tell them about the two crazy guys upstairs and their violent threats, they rolled their eyes and laughed at him. He was very surprised to hear that only a 22-year-old woman had been in the house during his botched burglary.
Oh my god.
When I returned home to my apartment a week later, Fran and Jock were with me. I kept them on the TV stand in the living room now, where they'd have full view of the front door. Whenever I start to feel a bit anxious about being alone, I'll give each bear a little squeeze and smile as they speak. I love you, Sadie. And now I respond, I love you both, too.
Oh my god, wholesome content. I want to cry. Ah,
right?
I love my grandpa so fucking much, and I would hope that he would do the same thing.
Yeah. The first time I read that story, my blood curdled the first time I read that Get Out. I was like, oh my god.
I was like, why is it possessed by an evil entity? And then I was like, well, maybe her house is going to be on fire. But then when it's like, you take one more step and I'll kill you, I was like, oh shit, okay. This bear is tripping.
It was really well written. Good job.
Yeah. It's probably not true, right? It's like too in depth. Or do you think it's true?
I don't know. I think it's really well written and believable, but
yeah,
who knows?
I know. I hope it's true. Oh my god.
You've said before that your grandpa has given you like messages, haven't you?
Oh yes, let's talk about those. Oh my gosh, I've had so many. So my brother had a dog, family dog, and after he passed, I had a dream. I was like crying to him, why did you have to leave or something? And then he just told me, it's just time, it's just old age. And then the next day, my brother had to put down his dog. So I got like a little message, kind of like a little warning about puppy being put down. Mm-hmm. And then this other time, 10 out of 10 I don't recommend, guys, but I was driving to work on a busy fucking highway, and I wanted to change music. So I picked up my phone, and I was like trying to, work to get it to Spotify. And my phone was black, and it wouldn't turn on, and my phone wasn't broken or anything, and I tried it like a couple of times, and my screen just wasn't turning on. So I literally threw my phone like on the passenger seat, and I was like, fine, Grandpa. I was like, I won't change my music. And then as soon as I threw my phone, 2 cars in front of me decided that they wanted to swerve. And they almost got into an accident, and I literally had to, like, slam on my brakes, or it would have been, like, a 3-car accident.
Oh, God.
That was terrifying, yeah, so I got off the freeway, like, immediately, and then, like, I'll just see, like, little messages, like, I'll see, like, a little Oldsmobile, it only happened once, but the license plate will say Dolly, or,
aww.
Yeah, I'm like, oh, or pennies, or whatever. I know, I love him so much.
So it sounds like you've had a lot of occurrences of something similar?
Mm-hmm, yeah. That intense, but yeah, the car accident one was, oh gosh, that was scary.
Yeah.
So, to this day, I don't, like, do anything on my phone, because people in Arizona don't know how to act behind the wheels of a car.
True that.
So, I just love him so much. I get so emotional. So before I do that, let's jump to my stories.
Okay, do it.
Okay. So I got my Reddit ghost stories just from, Reddit/ghost stories. And I have a few small ones, but the first one, this one was really good. It was posted by Ken Nove1. And it's called Best Friend's Apartment Haunted, Still Freaked Out. So it's funny, the first sentence says, I think my best friend's apartment is haunted, but after you hear this story, bitch, it's fucking haunted.
I think maybe.
I think possibly, perhaps. So I haven't seen Garrett in over a year since he went overseas for work. So I, of course, invited my ass over to his place. My mistake. We hung out, ordered takeout, and drank all evening. We had a great time catching up and got ourselves lit. I stayed over because I was too drunk to drive home, which is best. You should always do that. He set up the pull-out couch in his living room for me to sleep on. I crashed very quickly, and being a heavy sleeper, I would rarely wake up. However, there was a shuffling in the kitchen that woke me up from my slumber. I noticed the lights were on in the kitchen, and I thought Garrett woke up and had the munchies. So I got up and went to the restroom, and as I passed the kitchen, Garrett was eating on the kitchen counter. So I made my way to the bathroom, took a whiz, and headed back to the living room to go back to sleep. I woke up again, hearing noises from the kitchen. I know I didn't hear Garrett go to his room, so I went to check to make sure he was okay. Garrett was still munching on cold pizza and drinking beer. I was surprised that he was still eating and drinking. I asked him some questions, but all he did was eat, drink, and give me this weird smile. I told him I was going back to sleep. Suddenly, Garrett's bedroom doors open, and out comes Garrett. He groggily yells out, "Who were you talking to?" I stood there with my mouth opened and freaked out. I looked back to the kitchen, and the person I was chatting with just disappeared. Garrett looked at me and said, "You saw it too?" Never again will I ever go and hang out at his place. Still, literally freaked out.
Oh god. Thanks for the warning, you fuck.
Oh yeah, by the way, I have a ghost that has the munchies, so don't mind him.
That no talking and just smiling back?
And just like eating and drinking like all night? Jesus, okay.
Hungry ass ghost.
So my next little story I thought was like heartwarming a little bit. So this is posted by We Be Crazy, and it's called My Mother. So she starts us out with saying a trigger warning. So, trigger warning, I guess. When I was 5 years old, my mother passed away. So from a very young age, I had depression. My father ended up jumping from woman to woman, but he finally settled down when I was about 8 years old, which that marriage didn't last long. She was very unfair towards me and very abusive. She had one son of her own, and she treated him like he's better than my brother and I. One night, I was sitting in my room crying, asking why my mom had to leave me. I felt someone sit on my bed. I looked and saw no one, but you could see where it looked like someone was sitting on my bed. I brushed it off and laid back down until I felt a hand in my hair, brushing it until I fell asleep. I wasn't afraid. I felt very safe. I had a dream that night that it was my mother, and she told me that she loved me and will always be there for me. So fast forward to when I was 14. My dad remarried when I was 10 to this woman who was worse.
Oh god, this guy. He just keeps picking these asshole ladies.
I know! She was more abusive and treated her kids 10 times better than my brother and me. It was so bad that I went into a deeper depression and began to self-harm, and also became suicidal. One day, I faked being sick from school because I had a plan to finally end it all. I began to cut my wrist, and then I took pills. I remember looking up and seeing my mom at the doorway, frowning and telling me, "This is not the way, and it would be better." Like, this isn't your life path. It's gonna get better, basically.
Ugh.
I know. After that, I passed out And all I remember is waking up in the ER with my dad there telling me I threw up the pills, so I was okay. But I was going to be in a facility for a little bit. Ever since that day, I believe my mom is the one who made me throw up those pills and helped me live to tell this story.
Aw, that is wholesome.
Wholesome content. So,
I hope she got better.
I know. You are never alone, ghosties, no matter how depressed or sad you are. There's always someone out there who loves you, and just you being there lights up their whole world, and if you ever need anybody to talk to, come bug Pinky and I.
Yeah, I'm always open. I love talking to people.
Hell yeah. We got you.
Next one.
Okay, so we leave the wholesome and kind of go to like this weird, I don't know. So this one was posted by Hippie Gma. So you go, Grandma. You all read it. Okay. It's called Zombie Lady. Hippie Grandma said, I was around 20 years old, and I will never forget this. We were cruising around old country roads with my sister and her husband in one vehicle, and me and my husband and brother-in-law in another. We were looking for a place out of the city limits to light off fireworks safely. My sister's car was in front of me, and they pulled over to the side of the dirt road because they were having problems with their headlights. I was riding passenger in my car. Husband was driving. The men got out and looked at my sister's car. It was a warm and beautiful night, so we had the windows down. I kept hearing a scraping noise on the gravel road, but it was pretty dark behind us, so I couldn't see anything. I suddenly felt a chill come over me, just as I looked to my right and saw a tattered woman walking past my window. She was inches from me. Her jeans were tattered up to her knees, and her hair was in a hot mess. She was barefoot. She never looked at me. I felt as if she didn't even see me. The worst part was the scratching, scraping noises. I looked down at her feet, and her toenails were very long.
Ooh.
That's what the noise was. I said, "Ma'am, are you okay?" No response. Not even a head turn. This is late at night. Can't remember the time, mind you. We were pretty far away from civilization. I started yelling to the guys. They stood completely still as they all watched her just slowly walk past us on the road. After the headlights on my sister's car was fixed, we drove around for at least an hour looking for this woman. We never found anything. There was an old abandoned cemetery up ahead to the right of us. It was overgrown and had a tiny little one-room church on it. We had been back there several times looking for the cemetery to no avail. I will never forget this.
That's crazy.
Is that weird?
They all saw it and nobody, called anybody or anything?
I know, right? I mean, it's like a real person obviously wrote it, but the way she was making it sound, I thought she was going to be shackled like the ghost or the zombie lady, to have shackles on, but I guess she was just barefoot dragging her feet.
Her toenails? Ugh.
I know!
Alright then.
Alrighty, so the last one. This one is by Phantasma 1309? Phantasma. And it's called The Woman in Black. Back when I lived with my ex years ago, she used to wake me up in the middle of the night. She would tell me that there were 2 women in our apartment. There was one standing at the end of the bed staring, and the other woman would be in the doorway laughing. Of course, when I would wake up, there would be nothing there. I would turn on the lights and inspect the entire apartment. Never found any sign of someone being in the room. She would be crying the entire time. She would eventually calm down and fall back to sleep. So the girlfriend would be hysterical. One night, I woke up in the middle of the night to her sitting up in bed crying. I asked her what was wrong and never got a response. I shook her slightly to see if she was okay. Still, no response. I figured she may be in a sleep state and just having a bad dream. That is when I noticed a black silhouette of a woman at the edge of the bed. I couldn't see her face, but I could tell that her eyes were fixated on my ex. I don't know how I wasn't afraid. I assumed it was the adrenaline, but I tried to snap my ex out of it. I shook her harder until she finally stopped crying, fell back to bed, and was asleep. The silhouette was gone. I know, I got the chills. I did the same routine of checking the apartment and never found anything. The next morning, my ex told me about the dream she had. She said she had a dream about me standing on top of a building ready to jump. She was at the bottom, crying and yelling at me to get down, but I couldn't hear her. Behind me in the dream was a woman in black whispering in my ear, "Jump, jump." I never told her about what I saw, as I didn't want to fuel the experience.
Oh my god.
Spooky! Fuck
I don't
that.
like it.
No, girl, you need to go get a priest or something, okay? Because something is latched onto you, they like you, and they're drawing out all of your fucking energy. So please go sage yourself or something.
Would you want to know? Would you wish your boyfriend would have told you about the woman standing there?
Yes. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Like, I'm not religious, but I would definitely go and find, like, a spiritual guru or something to, you know, commonly cleanse the house and detach them from me. What about you?
I don't know. If it occurred a lot, then and it was causing problems, probably I would want to know. But if it was just like a once occurrence, maybe not. I don't know.
I know.
Ignorance,
I don't know. It kind of seemed
ignorance
like
is bliss sometimes.
Yeah, but so is good night's sleep is also important too.
Yeah. Not having demons in your room, probably.
Yeah. So I am so glad we recorded this episode in the daylight, because yikes.
Right. Me too, because I'm usually home alone when we record these at night.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't have a doggy anymore.
Too. I know. Do you want to tell the ghosties?
Yeah. It was over Christmas. We had to put our dog to sleep, and it's been really hard. He had like a heart tumor, and we didn't want to put him through any more like surgery or pain, so we just decided to put him to sleep. I've never realized, like, I kind of took for granted his comfort just being there all the time. Like, I never showered by myself. I never went outside by myself. I never went to bed by myself. Like, I've always just had him there, but he's not there anymore, and it's very lonely.
Oh, my heart.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry, friend. It's just, you know, they're literally our babies, and we love them like freaking humans, if not more than most people that we know. So, has J-Rock said anything about any dreams? Or have you had any little dreams with the little doggo, Kilo?
No.
Actually, big doggo.
Yeah, big doggo. No, I haven't had any dreams. J-Rock was pretty sure that it was a couple days before he started acting sick. He came and laid on J-Rock's lap for like hours, just laid there snuggling with him, and he doesn't usually do that, and J-Rock's pretty sure that he said goodbye. And when we were deciding what to do, because we took him to the emergency vet on the 24th, and that guy told us, he did an ultrasound, and he said that there's blood in the sac, well, fluid in the sac around his heart, and it's usually caused by what is called a hemangiosarcoma, which is like a malignant mass of blood vessels, and eventually, it's called indolent, which means that it doesn't cause pain. It just grows until eventually they start bleeding. So, and pets can bleed to death, and they usually collapse and stop being able to function from, like, blood loss. I forgot where I was going with this. Okay, so we had that done. We had them drain the fluid in his heart, and he had fluid in his abdomen, too, which was indicative of the cancer being in other places. It was the next day, I think. Or, no, it was the 26th. It was the day we put him to sleep. We were trying to figure out what to do, if we wanted to take him back to somewhere and get more tests and stuff done. Just to be sure. But, we decided that we would put him down. Well, J-Rock was having a hard time. He said that what made him decide was that he saw an angel in the towel on the floor. And he thinks that that was, like, a sign to tell him that we should put him to sleep.
No.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful little sign. At least it's, like, peaceful, you know, kind of like it's time.
Yeah.
You know, if, like, it's so strange because, I don't know. I don't know how to word this without being weird, but at least we have the choice to put our animals out of pain, whereas, like, people and loved ones, most of the time, you don't, unless it's, like, extreme circumstances.
No, I 100% agree with that. I even said it,
Yeah.
I'm like, it's weird that we don't do that to people. Like, people just...
Yeah.
I don't know, though. We do a lot to keep people comfortable in the transition, more so than pets. Like, he was just sitting here suffering, and we couldn't really do anything for him, unless we want to pay thousands and thousands of dollars.
Yeah, nobody has any money, ever.
Yeah. I think that was the best thing that we could have, that we owed him that.
Yeah. Nice little angel on the towel. Oh.
Yeah.
Who knew ghost stories would make us so emotional?
I know, this has just been so, like, sobby. It's not even scary.
I know. I don't know. It's like, I 100% believe that, you know, in ghosts and spirits of our loved ones, and that they do communicate to us in dreams and everything. So, like, I read a story and I'm like, oh yeah, like, that has had to have happened, like, that person's experience. So, if you're probably more so a person who doesn't believe in it, or if you're, like, skeptic, then I could kind of see how people would not be as, like, emotional to stuff. But
yeah.
It's so hard because everybody has had at least one experience with death of a loved one or whatever. So,
yeah. And I think it's like a comfort thing to find answers and to think about that there's something better after we pass.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Like, I get it. I never used to understand religion until I, like, had that panic attack about dying and just nothingness, just, like, ceasing to exist.
Yeah.
Which would probably be fine, but I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, this might even be a little TMI or, like, too far off the record, but somebody who I know, they did OD, and they were technically dead. And we asked them, like, hey, like, what happened? Did you experience anything? Or, like, you know, because some people, when they're technically dead, they have, like, this, like, hallucination or whatever, but the person just said it was black. It was just, that's it. Nothing. You know, like, when you're sleeping, or, like, right before you wake up from sleeping, and like, if it's all black, like, that's the way I imagined it, but I didn't feel like it was their time to go. Yeah. At that point. I'm like, well, I'm, you know, a little disappointed that your spirit guide didn't, like, do something to kind of knock some sense into you, dummy, but
right.
It just wasn't your time to go, I guess.
That's crazy.
Yeah. Well, if you ghosties have any real life experiences, or if you have any loved ones that send you cute little messages, please send them to us. I love reading stuff like that, and I'd love to, you know, share your experiences.
Yeah, definitely.
Maya, we a bunch of sobby bitches.
We really are. I hope you guys enjoyed our sappy, not really scary ghost stories this week.
Yep. Well, you guys, we'll see you next week.
Later.
Bye. That that wraps up the Spooky Scary Show. If you've enjoyed this podcast, click that like or follow button. We are available on Spotify, iTunes, and all major podcast streaming services. Spooky Scary Show is an independent podcast with big dreams. So if you would like to show your support, check out our Patreon page at patreon.com/Spooky Scary Show. Also, join in on the conversation. Follow us on Instagram at Spooky Scary Show for science and spooky facts. Scary you later. Spooky.